I'm glitching effect. Look at that. That's so expensive. The glitch effect. I'm Andrew Reed with Mossy Creek Mushrooms for the MushRune Cast. And I'm still glitching. This effect is really paying off, guys. Glitch. Dang it. I might have to stop that part. But anyways, hi guys. Let's stop the recording. See if it'll stop. Yeah, there goes the glitch even now. Okay. Hey, y'all.
You sure about that?
No, I'm not sure about that. What is going on? If I change to you, are you glitchy? You're not glitchy. Why are you not? This is Samantha. Hi, Samantha. Say hello. So.
Can we go wiggle chords?
No, it's not the chords. It's the program. I was recording this so that this would go up on Spotify. This was supposed to be our first episode on Spotify and the other podcast channels, potentially even Rumble. And now I'm going to apparently refigure out the technical difficulties, but such is life. So
It happens.
it does. Anyways, y'all, it's Andrew and it's Sam, and we are the Battletoads.
Nice.
We don't have any topic tonight. Tonight is entirely driven by you guys. If you have nothing to talk about, we will cut the show short. If you have lots to talk about, we will go longer. So, hammer us with your questions. We're going to see, hit it with a big hammer. That does normally work. You know what the hammer's short for, don't you? It's too early in the show to talk about that. So, anyways. It's from, have you ever seen, yeah, you've watched with me Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog? Captain Hammer?
Oh, yes.
And the hammer is my, yeah. Anyways, I'm giddy, guys. I've been up since early, and I was up late last night, and I'm going off the dregs of what little coffee I was able to fix up. So, question bomb dropping. That's right, Jacob. That's what we're doing. Aloha, Opus.
Oh, you said the B word.
B word?
Yeah, in the first 5 minutes, too.
Well, that's okay. What's the best lion's mane dish you've ever eaten? That's a good question. Honestly, one of my favorites is Asian-style soup beans that I like to make. I really like that. I haven't made it in a while, but you take pinto beans or whatever you want to make, just make Appalachian-style pinto beans and cornbread, but instead of adding salt or country ham, you add a ton of soy sauce, and then you take, I prefer low-sodium soy sauce, but if you like the salty stuff, go with the salty stuff. And then I just take lion's mane. As soon as I first put the beans in, the water's still cold, put the soy sauce in, and then I just start breaking and tearing up lion's mane and throwing it in there. And then I let it cook for like, I don't know, 12, 13 hours on low, and then make a really nice thick pinto beans with the, so that soy sauce, man, the amino acids just give it some real depth of flavor. The mushrooms, honestly, by the time you've cooked them for 13 hours, kind of take on the texture of a really cooked down ham. And then you serve that with cornbread. And then you get crumbling for dessert. Because crumbling is one of my favorite desserts ever. And Samantha hasn't made cornbread for crumbling in a while. Hopefully, that's a hint, make me some crumbling.
I actually just bought cornmeal the other day. So
That's right. Woo!
it's in the pantry.
Heck yeah. Crumbling is my favorite. So, but that's probably my favorite lion's mane dish, honestly. It's just like an Appalachian-style soup beans. What about you, Samantha? Do you have a favorite way for lion's mane?
So we had a friend of ours make mock crab cakes, and
Ooh, those were really good.
that was really good. And he also made a sauce that went with it too, and it was kind of like, it wasn't tartar sauce, but it was really good.
It's kind
I
of
don't know
like
what exactly what
like
was in
a mayonnaise-y based sauce or something like.
Yes.
But I don't remember what. Do you remember that sauce? It wasn't Polly. It wasn't Chef Polly. It was the guy that took over Rebel Kitchen after Chef Polly. Preston?
Yes.
And do you remember that fermented chestnut mushroom sauce he made?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's the only way I've ever had chestnuts that I liked them.
Yeah, we had just hired a few new people on the crew, and chestnuts are one of those mushrooms that we were actually talking about this with a visitor today. That you sometimes feel like you need to let it go a little longer. Don't pick chestnuts quickly. Otherwise, it looks like cinnamon exploded in your grow room. But we had hired a few new people, and we were kind of showing them the ropes, and they waited a little too long, and we ended up with just cases and cases of chestnut mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And Preston was like, "Well, I'll take them," and so we did a heavy discount, and he ended up fermenting them and making a sauce. It wasn't just him though; it was Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman,
I've forgotten
yeah.
her name. Gosh, it's been years.
Yeah, she.
But she had a hand in it too, and it was just the powers combined. It was amazing. I wish I could have it again. It was awesome. Maybe we can see if we can get them to do a cooking demonstration. Reach out all our feelers and get that dynamic duo back together.
Jacob and Rachel said it was a béarnaise sauce.
Ah, sounds about right. But the mock crab cakes were fried in oil, and they were really crispy, and so you could essentially just crack them in half and then dip, and then you munch on it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then I saw the same person that asked the question said that they tried, here down at the bottom, they just had a Nashville-style fried lion's mane sandwich that was bomb. And I've seen that. I've heard them called like Nashville lion's mane sandwiches, or like what was it, like a Bam Bam chicken sandwich, but it's made with lion's mane. It's like lion's mane that's been deep fried. It's pressed and then deep fried, I think. And then that looks good.
That was a few people sent pictures to us of the mock chicken sandwiches, and they had breaded them and fried them, and they looked amazing.
I've wanted to try one that way. I just haven't done so yet.
We should.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely should.
Hey Andrew, have you ever experimented with non-sterile block production? I've done hundreds of bags now with using a 10% spawn rate, and it works really well, even with 30% supplementation. We have, actually. We've played around with it. It worked pretty well. Worked pretty well until it didn't. And then when it didn't, we had bad results. So we like the surety of the heat treatment, but higher spawn rate, lower supplementation, you can oftentimes get away with that stuff for sure. And yeah, I mean, it can be quite profitable, actually. I've actually wondered about the rate of failure and going, if I take away my cook and the energy that it costs me, which is about $6 to $10 per 36-hour run, so it's like 6 to 10 cents a bag is my energy cost. So if I take that and I get to remove that cost for hundreds of bags, and I have a certain rate of failure, at what point does that rate of failure override how much I'm saving?
I personally would much rather pasteurize no matter what, but that's just a personal preference, and in my opinion, it's the way to go. But
when did you get up in? When did I get up and went? I think he means what time did I get up? Well,
it wasn't too terribly early. It was like 7:30,
it was early
8
for
a.m.
me,
Yeah.
which is 7 a.m. Samantha and I work second shift, and we stay up late, and then we usually sleep in, and then I get up somewhere, or late morning, typically. Early afternoon, maybe.
Well, and going back to
rarely early afternoon.
back to the blocks, Andrew and I are actually looking into either
autoclaves.
Yeah, a large autoclave or more smaller ones, but we'd like to go from pasteurization to sterilization on all of our blocks. So we'll see how that goes.
Yup.
I'm excited.
I mean, I just want an autoclave. I'm tired of pasteurization. Even the failure rate on that is too. The pasteurization works great, but then like when an element goes bad, and you may not know it goes bad until you're already in the middle of a run, and then you got to stop it, let everything cool down, or your boiler cool down so you can repair it, and then you get it going again.
On this last time, it was
works.
Our float valve.
It's got me where we're going, or it's got me where we are at, but I think an autoclave is. I think I'm going to use the money from pasteurizing blocks to get into the sterilization game. So
Yeah, this past time it was instead of an element failure, it was a float valve. Not complete failure, but it definitely didn't have the resistance that it needed. It was a bit stuck because of our hard water. And then it allowed the reservoir to fill a little bit more with water than normal, and so you don't have a small amount of water that is heating up continuously with a slow, drip feed of cool water. And instead, we had a larger amount in the reservoir, and it was just having a harder time keeping it boiling. And so it just kind of, things were not as hot as they should have been. So we've had to remake a few things. But remake them we have. It'll be good. Oh, what is Sam's famed 10-bag folding speed? So Charles and I have done block production, 108 blocks, in 50 minutes is our record. So,
Huh?
Be like 8 minutes for 10 bags, or 7 minutes for 10 bags, or, right?
I don't know. What was your time at the Mushroom Bag Olympics?
It was, did we do 10 bags or 20? My time was like 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
On the 10, those are 10 bags. So
Was
Sam
it?
can fold 10 bags
And
every 3 minutes.
yours is like 3:30, and then I think Ben Dooling's was like 3. We have videos. We need to go back and watch them.
We do.
Maybe that can be our commercial next time.
They're archived, but yeah.
No.
Well, I'm hoping the commercial next time, one of them will be for the Mycology.
You have the footage somewhere. We can dig it up.
It's archived, yeah. It's on my...
And then...
it's somewhere in my external drives.
Yeah.
Alright, so... what are Andrew and Sam's favorite strains of mushrooms by timeline of your growing careers? Why'd you skip that one?
Oh, I skipped it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's right above mushrooms will help save the world.
I didn't mean to.
So favorite strains by timeline? Like through our careers. I've just honestly always been stuck on oysters. Like I'm kind of obsessed about oysters. I do love Hericium. I love all the mushrooms, and I usually my ADHD drives me to being obsessed with one or the another at a certain time. But I always come back to oysters. Oysters are just, they are to me the single most useful single type of mushroom in the world so far. That doesn't mean that they cover all uses, or that there aren't strains or species that are more useful in other ways. But to me, oyster mushrooms are, they're leading the way in mushroom cultivation as far as numbers produced. They have, nowadays, thanks in part to us, what?
Nothing.
Lots of tastes, textures, shapes, speeds, all kinds of things that you could want. Did you get those spores all over you?
No.
So you guys remember when Samantha brought in king oysters to show us? She left those on my table, and they spored everywhere, and then actually started growing from the stem butts into my table. So now I have my myceliated table that I can't clear out. Bad Samantha. And now she's spore printing her clothing. So, anyways, oysters are my favorite probably species. When it comes to strains, King Blue was my favorite because it was my first baby.
And that's me too. Like it's sentimental.
Yeah. Pathfinder probably before King Blue, because Pathfinder, Charles found that in the middle of the Washington wilderness, and then was backpacking. Had nothing with him but cardboard from an Albert's, or no, maybe not
A
Albert's.
sardine can.
It was a sardine can, yeah. And so he wetted the paper, the cardboard in the river, got the oyster, wrapped the stem butts up in it, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in his backpack for 2 or 3 days. When he got back to civilization, he then shipped that to me, and then I cloned it off the cardboard. And so that was probably like my favorite strain in the beginning because it was mine. It was uniquely mine, Charles's, Samantha's, ours, right? Um, and then
It
we
was
went to.
represent for
That's
the
right.
MCM team.
And then a combination of our skills and, you know,
Tenacity.
that too, talents and whatnot. So that was probably one of my favorite strains in King Blue because that was my first baby from a breeding program. And then nowadays I have dozens of favorites as far as oysters go. But I like all kinds of other species as well. So, I mean, it's really hard for me to pick. But I would say nowadays, you know, I'm pretty gaga over BS26. I have a new strain, which is the Pearly White crossed with the BS26. It's PWBS26-3. A new name coming. But that strain just got finished being tested in the grow room, and holy crap, it is beautiful. And it keeps its blue colors, and the caps resist flipping up, so they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with the cap staying kind of curled, like
I was
knurled on the
actually
end.
pretty weirded out, impressed by that.
Yeah, it was odd. But it does. It's one of those strains that seems to produce fewer but much larger, meatier caps. We'll see how it does in warmer weather, but that's one that is a new favorite. Deep Blue Sea is another one. Deep Blue Sea, do you remember the parentage on that?
Mother of Pearl and Rocky Top?
Mother and Pearl and Rocky Top, yep. So we're now having strains
That's
that
another
are...
one of my favorites.
Which one?
A Deep Blue Sea. I have pictures. So something happened. I think someone skipped cleaning the humidifier that week, and we ended up. It was in the height of summer. It was like 98 degrees in the warehouse, and we ended up with a bit of blotch in our grow room. So we stripped the whole grow room and completely just bleach bombed it and pressure washed and let it dry out and cleaned it over and over again. But right before that, Deep Blue Sea was in there, and it had grown, failed, and then pinned on top of its failure and continued to grow healthy oysters. And I have pictures, and I was like, this thing is awesome.
Yep.
But Jackie is the one who bred that one.
Yeah, Jackie bred that
Super
one.
proud.
And named it. I let him name it since he bred it. And he's like, Deep Blue Sea. And I was like, okay.
And it has a beautiful, gorgeous color.
Yep. What are your... So is that what you're saying is your favorite strains there?
Well, whenever the question was asked, I had a few in my head, and then you started listing them off, and it's pretty much the exact same ones.
Fair enough.
The one that I would add to it is Tribbles, in part because of the name. I find it to be kind of clever and funny, and you know, our whole family we love sci-fi and Star Trek and all that cool stuff, and it's one of Andrew's first Hericians that he bred, so it's sentimental in that way.
Yup. I'm with it. Very good. So, any tips on getting bigger fruits and longer teeth on lion's mane? So, I will tell you, as far as teeth goes, that's going to be strain dependent. I've noticed it's very, very strain dependent. Do you want to go pick that Tribbles and bring it in here and show? You don't
Add to your spore prints. Sabertooth was a good one.
Sabertooth is a very toothy one.
It was
Though
like
that's
an
not
inch
lion's
long.
mane. That's more of a Coralloides. The Tribbles that I bred is from the commercial bear's head to you all right? The commercial bear's head that's been floating around everywhere, and the lion's beard strain, and it can be pretty woolly looking. So teeth are going to be very strain dependent. You can mess around with your settings somewhat and get longer teeth, shorter teeth, etc. Bigger fruits, more water in your substrate, and heavier humidity in the air. You don't want to go so heavy that you're going to cause mold problems, and you still want a good drying out period. But if you have fog that comes in around 95% occasionally, that's going to be fantastic. and that usually helps with bigger fruits. But again, that's also going to depend. Certain strains will produce big fruits at like warmer temps, and then because of colder temps, they don't get as big, that kind of thing. So that's usually it. Samantha, when she gets back with the tribbles, well, here she comes.
I've got a.
Oh, she's gloving up.
Oh,
and she's going to get pictures first?
Well, yeah, because I don't have a picture for it.
Oh, yeah, that's right, with the new website build. So let her get a picture of it, and then she'll pick it, and then she'll bring it to us. But in the meantime, I'll go into the next question. Hey, Andrew, have you ever experienced... what? Did I just really... I did. I went back somehow. Okay. Mouth-watering, thanks. You're welcome. That's about the beans, I guess. I like apple crumble. So bad tentacles... I agree, I love apple crumble. But crumbling is not apple crumble. It's not crumble at all. I mean, it's crumble. It's like crumble in. As in you are putting crumbles in something. And it's where you take... I grew up with it. I guess I hadn't really thought about it. Maybe it's not a dish that everyone eats everywhere. But, you know, we'd have soup beans. Cold winter day. You take your soup beans, your cornbread... You ladle your soup beans over your cornbread, or you dip, depending on your style, right? You take some chow chow, some mustard. I prefer chow chow. And then, yeah, you just eat that. Like, there's a spicy chow chow and a sweet chow chow. I prefer the hot chow chow. And, man, you just eat those soup beans up. Now, you're left with some leftovers in your cornbread pan. So you take all those crumbs, those stiff, hard pieces that are on the bottom, sometimes that people don't always get, or whatever leftover cornbread you have, you crumble that over a glass until it kind of fills up a glass, and then you take milk. Whole milk is better. My grandparents always used buttermilk. I'm not that hardcore. Whole milk is my favorite. Skim milk works too, but I mean, you just pour it in, and then you just eat that like cereal, right? You eat that, it gets mushy. The corn and the milk kind of add sweetness to each other. And it's just if you really want it sweet, you could add some honey or something to it, or some sugar, I guess. But I grew up, that was the dessert a lot of times. Not always, but and it was a good one. I love crumbling. What are your... oh, well, here she is. Boo. Look at those, man. That thing is straight up woolly. No, do not hold it close to the camera. You have to hold it, remember it's in focus. Right about there. So that actually could have gone a little bit further too, I guess, but
yeah.
Thank you for picking it. And that one is developing really nice teeth, and is quite toothy. That's the Tribbles strain that I bred, and that is one of my favorites. And it truly is productive, like the Tribbles from Star Trek.
You can't zoom in, can you? So the top of it looks like it's been squeezed out of a icing pipette. It's really... I'll post photos up on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah.
She'll send me the photos, and I'll post them on the Mossy Creek Mushrooms Instagram.
But it has some nice teeth to it.
Yeah, those teeth aren't fully grown, and it hasn't started to even brown on the top. But I mean, you can see it's pretty decent sized already. Can you estimate what that weighs for me? Is that a couple pounds?
Yeah, at least 2.
Yeah, I'd say it's 2 pounds at least. So that's a good strain. It's one of my favorites. Mossy's mane is even hairier, but Mossy's mane grows a lot slower than the Tribbles does.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that baby?
On the
Tribbles strain? What's it smell like?
Pleasant smell to it. Look at the top.
Dang, that is woolly. Ooh, that is stout. I have to be careful with Hericium. The spores actually mess with me more than oysters.
They don't bother me, but they bother Andrew.
Yeah, the Hericium bothers me really bad. Oyster spores bother Samantha now, but they didn't used to. Alright, so what are my thoughts on tendilization for grain spawn? I don't trust tendilization. It is a useful tool back in the old days, but now that we've got pressure vessels, it's just best to go pressure vessels. Tendilization can work, but it's one of those high-risk, mediocre rewards systems, I feel like. It works better in liquids than it does solids anyways. So that's my thoughts on it. I mentioned a few weeks back using the water from soaked grains for LC. I tried it and it failed. The mycelium curled up on the top trying to get away from the oat water. I lost all my LC that batch.
Aww.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered. I remember, I think we talked about it. I may have talked about it somewhere else, but whole grains on the outsides, their hulls have anti-nutrients in them a lot of times to keep animals from eating too much, like insects in particular, from eating too much of them. And the outside of the grain has oftentimes got stuff in it to keep funguses from growing, specifically to protect the seed before it sprouts. So I had wondered if that had happened. I was able to fruit my first pink oyster. Was not meaty but tasty. I am doing a second flush just to explore the process, but turned white right away. No any wise. Baby? Any thoughts? I've seen them turn white before, but usually it's just when they start to age and they kind of bleach out. And it sounds like it was a little bit past maturity.
So there's been a few times growing the exact same pink strain that it seems to be a lighter pink or a darker pink. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that it's a really, really, really dark pink whenever it's cold, but they grow super small. And then I've noticed in the summertime when it's super hot and they're growing really fast, sometimes they end up being a lighter pink. But the white that I've seen has only been toward the stem, so I don't really quite know. I don't have experience with that, really, as far as the whole thing turning
Mainly
white.
I've seen them go brown before I see them, more often than I see them go white, but brown usually is at the end of their life cycle. They start to turn brown and start kind of smelling off and kind of bad fishy. So, okay, I gotta capture that face on camera. What's...
I accidentally deleted someone's comment. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm trying to undo it, but I don't know what I did. I was trying to scroll up.
Mock crab cakes. I started fishing crab in the Bering Sea, Alaska when I was 20. I'm 61 now. There's no excuse. I love crab. Like, absolutely adore crab, lobster, shrimp, mussels, clams. Basically, if it's got a shell on it, I like it. I eat grasshoppers. I like grasshoppers. They're like land shrimp.
Ew.
Samantha won't even try them.
Nope.
My boys and I, we eat them every summer.
I've
What are
had
your thoughts?
chocolate-covered ants, but that's as far as I'll go.
Ants are gross. There's too acidic. What are your thoughts on reusing substrate on a commercial level? Do you have any thoughts on what mushrooms would do better on recycled substrate? So far, black poplars are doing well. I think black poplars would be a key one for sure. I've heard reishi, shiitake. I've heard likes substrate after oysters are done with it. Primary decomposers, I would think something like oysters and lion's mane would probably be the best for the first, shiitake or something for the second. Then you get into the agaricuses, like portobellos and whatnot for the tertiary rounds, is my guess. As far as using it on a commercial level, I wouldn't want to do it unless I had a ribbon mixer, and I could do big batches at a time, and then just rebag, wet, and then rebag, and then recook. That would be my preferred way to do it if I was going to do it commercially. And I think it's a good idea too. I like the idea of having 2 or 3 crops like that, and then using the same substrate. But you got to make. Again, it always comes down to labor. Labor is always the single most expensive thing we work with here. And so until we get the labor bills down, the only way to do that is to automate processes or simplify your techniques. So, like, by not mixing our substrate, pre-mixing, we only mix our substrate when we put spawn in, that cut our labor bill almost in half. That kind of thing.
Well, and I could see that being a very plausible thing and something that I would push for if we grew mushrooms that parasitized other mushrooms.
Yeah? Like tremellas or...
Yeah.
I've heard of people working on the lobster mushroom to try and get it to grow indoors. I don't know what their success rate is. I haven't seen anything, so my guess is probably
Oh,
pretty
but
poor.
that is a tasty mushroom. So
Mhm.
whoever figures that out and starts doing it, it's
Oh
gonna
yeah, lobster mushroom is one of my favorites, but for obvious reasons, one of my favorite food is lobster. So
Hmm. How about using vinegar and substrate to control trike? I saw it from Mycovations on YouTube.
I have no experience with it. The only thing I can think of would be that it's raising the acid level in the substrate. But oyster mushroom, most of the gourmet mushrooms like a neutral to basic pH. So it may control trike, but it sounds to me like it would hurt the growth of your mushrooms. And if it doesn't hurt the growth of your mushrooms, I was suspicious about whether or not it's actually controlling trike. So I've not seen any evidence of it. Vinegar is usually a terrible cleaning agent. A sanitizing agent. It's a good cleaning agent, but it's a terrible sanitizing agent. People like to use it thinking that it kills bacteria. It does not kill bacteria the way alcohol does or bleach does, the way people seem to want to think that it does. Samantha was yawning. I was acting like I was going to hit the camera switch. So,
Such a stinker.
well, I didn't hit it, but so usually I'm pretty suspicious of vinegar, just in general. People use it more often. I'm not saying that it won't work. I'm just saying I don't have any experience with it. So I would be interested in seeing the results. I can look at Mycovations. Mycovations. That sounds really familiar. Why does that sound really familiar? Mycovative? Aren't those the guys doing the packaging? That's Ecovative. Never mind. Okay. That's why it was on a strange.
And then Midnight Mushroom Co. This is the one I accidentally deleted, so I just want to, I want to repeat it just to make sure that in case no one else can see it. But it says,
what, Midnight Mushrooms? Michael's on here and you end up...
I didn't mean to, which is why I'm highlighting this right now. They said get you a 1,200 liter autoclave.
There we go.
I didn't want it to be lost and forgotten because I messed up. I don't know what I did. I think I just touched it trying to scroll and then...
You gonna sell me one? Or give me one?
Oh.
On Fresh Air Exchange, I'm in Alabama and am planning on sealing up my future negative pressure fruiting room to help with cooling. Should I use filtered air intake or will the air through the humidifier be enough? Your air is going to come, if you're doing a negative pressure grow room, then your air is going to come in from all over the place, including through the humidifier. The more air you pull out of your room, the more you're going to get coming back through your humidifier. So I prefer to run it all through my humidifier if I can, but it doesn't all. I just have two plastic flaps, and they just kind of, you can see that they go in as they're being pulled by the air. And then the humidifier drops air, or drops humidity right there at those flaps. So, I mean, you can filter if you want. Filter's a good thing if you can, but for the intake of the grow room, but filtering air that comes out of the grow room is pretty much just not going to work. Your filters are going to plug up immediately. And even then, the stuff on your intake, I don't see the reason in filtering it unless you're going to have like a bug problem or something. But I'm back to using two 75X All-Americans for everything. Couldn't keep my pasteurizer from leaking. I'm not very handy. Yeah, that can suck. And pasteurizers, you get used to being able to do a big bulk batch, and then when you go to the small autoclaves or pressure cookers, you're having to run those constant, and it's not the same. I'm looking at some Blue Myco units. I'm looking at some SH Scientific autoclaves. I'm looking at a few different things. So we'll see what I get to go. And whatever I get, I'll share my experience with it. In fact, I was thinking about going to Blue Myco and be like, hey, I know we talked about buying one, but maybe I could just affiliate one for you. I could just give my review on it. A try before you buy for my audience.
That is such a big ask.
It really is a huge ask.
I do not approve.
No, I probably won't do that. But I'd like to throw my celebrity around.
Andrew. Goodness.
What's the point in having it if I can't use it?
Hi.
All right, before I get in trouble. Andrew set link to private. Thank you, Eric. 90 what? Inches diameter, 20-foot long stainless steel horizontal autoclave. So the problem oftentimes is whether or not those come with boilers. And then what the fee, like the autoclave, finding the autoclave isn't the problem a lot of times. It's the finding the money for the installation, which is why the plug and play models are the kind of the ones I'm looking at right now. There's some advantages and disadvantages. If I go a series of 150 liter SH Scientific autoclaves, I can buy them piecemeal and just start to arm up as I go. If I go Blue Myco, I get, with the 310 liter one, I get to basically outpace my pasteurizer by running it twice a day. That's a big deal. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both sides. But then I have to pay the full, 15 grand or 25 grand up front. And that's a chunk of change. It's a lot of money for me. So just the way it works. Can the myceliated table be spalted? I'm going to be doing some spalting experiments on this table. We'll see how it goes. I've got some new spalting strains in that I'm looking forward to giving a go. So as soon as I test them clean.
I think we should do like 2x4s, spalt 2x4s, and then cut them at angles. And I don't know, if you guys don't follow him on Instagram, you absolutely should. It's Brambles Woodwork. And he makes earrings, and they are the most gorgeous earrings I've ever seen. Of course, because they're spalted and it's mushroom related in so many ways. Plus, I have metal allergies, so I have to be very careful as to what I wear. So I could absolutely get like some gold, like 24 karat gold studs, and just hang those on there. So that would be really cool. I might see if I can do that. But anyway, it would be awesome to have a spalted table that's designed after those earrings. That would be great. Definitely would be a goal of mine.
Excuse me.
Are you all right?
Mm-hmm.
Jacob and Rachel said King Blue is such a workhorse. It is.
That thing is a workhorse for sure. Though I may be retiring that strain soon. I have a replacement for it that I'm very proud of. So I don't know. We'll see. We may keep both of them going, but the KBI, the King Blue Improved, also known as the King Blue Imposter, is we're
fiddling with both of the names because of its origin story, as well as just how impressed we are with it. And I told Andrew we ought to do like was it Carmen Sandiego that we kind of grew up with, like this sort of
Where
mystery search thing that we ought to do some sort of where's the missing King Blue. But anyway,
where's the missing King Blue? It was taken out by the King Blue Improved. But yeah, that one may be going. King Blue may be going to the what do they call it when they put the stud out to the pasture? You know, they're like the King Blue may go to being a breeding stock strain instead of a production strain for us anymore. I don't know. It's so popular that I don't know that I can stop selling it for now. I may have to just keep it up and release the King Blue Improved alongside it until it takes over. But the Coffee King Blue is about to be released as well. And that one is a King Blue that's been trained for high acidic environments and those who live in urban environments who want to grow on pure coffee grounds, pure coffee waste from like coffee shops. I finally have an oyster that I have trained to where it doesn't hit that acidic environment and then stall out for a week before it finally starts growing. It actually hits
struggles
coffee
the entire time.
Yeah, this is a King Blue that's been trained by our workhorse mushroom, trained to a high acid environment, and it just takes off. So it's a pretty cool oyster.
Nathan, can you talk about Cumberland oyster? Always interested in anything that might handle heat. So the Cumberland oyster was found in September at Cumberland Mountain State Park. And it was a very, very wet, very rainy week that week. So it was everything was just drenched, and that thing was going to town.
It had been like a month of drought right before that rain.
That's true. And Andrew and I were walking
That
along
was
the
the
trails.
only mushroom we found that entire weekend.
Yeah. Normally we had found, maitake, and we'd found
I found
chicken
my
of the
first
woods
umbrella
and
polypore up there.
Yeah.
We found cauliflower. Like, Cumberland Mountain is usually crawling with mushrooms.
But it was a beautiful walk, and I remember specifically it was very rainy, and I have pictures from that where just all the leaves had fallen, and I think you were just sniffing the air, and you were like, "Let's go this direction," and it ended up being over there. It smelled really good.
I can hunt mushrooms by their smell. You can ask Samantha. I'll be walking through the woods and I'll just stop and I'll go. There's
It's
mushrooms
true.
nearby. I can smell them. I was like,
He's like a hound, and it's hilarious to go mushroom hunting with him because he's just like led by his nose. you know?
it's true though. I mean, you can smell it. They're like, once you learn that smell, it's so easy to identify. I will say, when I did my medical genetic screening, I had several like gene clusters associated with being able to smell a more sensitive nose, and my Nana's got the same sensitive nose. It's the Sullivan nose, that good old Irish nose. That you can just smell it. Like, especially, was it floral and like fruity notes are in particular very sensitive to. So, but I can absolutely smell mushrooms. What's that face for, Sweet? You're making an odd face.
You're not supposed to do that.
What?
Don't put the camera on me when I'm making funny faces.
No, it's funny to me.
Uh-huh.
Don't
I
make
can't
them.
I can't skip ahead.
What?
Well,
Okay,
we'll get to it.
there. Okay.
Oh, but back to the Cumberland oyster.
Boogie.
It has a really
I don't
pretty.
know which way to go,
It has
folks.
it has a really really beautiful butterscotch color to it,
It is gorgeous. I was really surprised it could come out so gorgeous.
and that is the single most, I think, characteristic about it that singles out Cumberland oyster.
It's reminiscent of Old Road in that it's kind of it's one of
Yeah.
the fatter stemmed oysters.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that silky, soft, kind of thin, pretty much all cap that oyster has, or
That
not
the
oyster,
Old
Old
Road-
Road oyster
Yeah,
has.
it's definitely a little bit more meaty.
It's definitely more meaty, and the color is more saturated, more obvious. It's really really pretty, but I wouldn't say that it's a high heat oyster. If anything, the ones that do really well in the high heat, Venetian definitely, the pinks and golds, but also Deep Blue Sea did really well in the summertime. Pearly White was a beast in the summertime. King Blue does well, but King Blue, and we all know it, we all love King Blue, but it also has a tendency to blotch in high heat. What was the other one that did really well in the heat this past summer that we grew out?
Mother of Pearl.
Mother of Pearl did really well.
Mother of
yeah.
Pearl was one of 2 strains that grew up to 96 degrees.
It kept its orb shape, but it turned gray, and it grew paper thin. Like,
Yeah.
you could shine a light behind it and almost see through it. But it kept its shape. It was really, really pretty.
I mean, I'm not going to say that you can grow it at 96 degrees and it'll be the same quality as when you're growing at a lower... It was pretty, but it was fragile. It was definitely heat stressed at 96 degrees.
Well,
But it did grow at 96.
So our warehouse was around 98 to 100. And then we have, what you're seeing behind us is one of the 3 grow rooms that has been kind of retired into a podcast room / incubation room. And then the first grow room is where we still grow our mushrooms. And that's probably, 15 to 20 degrees cooler, depending.
What?
The grow room is about 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the main warehouse.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Usually, it depends. Like, when it was that hot of summer, those air conditioners kept freezing up and shutting off. They weren't able to keep it anywhere close.
So what I like to do is I like to go in on temperature variances like this, and this is something I would recommend that you do for your own grow room and for your own photo library, is go in, take a picture of your filter patch. That way you know exactly what you're documenting and the date on the filter. So we put the name on the filter patch, and then we put the date that the block was inoculated. And so you have the name and the date, And then you have, of course, on the photo itself, you have the metadata behind everything, so you can go back and look at the date that it was taken, and look back at the exact time that it was taken. And then I take a picture of our temperature gauge and our humidity gauge. That's just right. We have one inside the grow room, and then we have one outside of the grow room, and then we have one at the door typically. And they're just those little clip-on ones. You don't have to buy super fancy, crazy, expensive gauges. I'll take a picture of that, and then I'll take a picture of the mushroom through various stages. We'll do a pin set, a mid-growth, and then a finished growth photo. And then Andrew and I both, we have Google Drive libraries where he'll take photos, I'll take photos. We'll have the files of every single one, and we'll just collaborate and go in together with the photos, so we can kind of pull from those for the website and for videos and for Instagram and social media and all that good stuff.
Yep.
So... But
Absolutely.
I'll go back and look. But from what I remember, it was probably around 82, 83 in the grow room. Yeah.
When it was 96 degrees and growing?
Well, we had 1 week where it was cooler,
Mm.
and it did well. It incubated in the upper 80s, and I remember it fruiting in the upper 80s too. And then we had that crazy week where I went outside and I felt like my shoes were melting on the pavement. It's like 106 outside.
I remember we'd go outside and it was like slip.
I went into the van, and the van barely started, and the van temperature gauge said 106. And I immediately rolled down all the windows, and it was so hot, and our air conditioning had stopped working.
People in Florida are going to be like, these people have no idea.
Or Texas. They're like, you wimpy,
That's
wimpy
right.
people.
We get the same thing from people in the winter. We're like, oh no, it's 9 degrees. It's like, try negative 39. No, if I wanted to live
It's
somewhere
like Ben was sporadic, and he put a heater in his walk-in just to keep it like cold.
Put a heater in his walk-in to keep it above freezing. M. Gumyan, you heard correctly that we work second shift, but what you're not taking into account is I can own my own business and work whatever shift I want. I don't have to work second shift for someone else.
So Andrew and I worked second shift for years. I worked second shift at least for 5 years. I worked from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. For years and years. And I don't know what it is. It's just a cycle that I seem to have a very difficult time
Breaking?
And so...
Hey, I have the cure. I found the cure, guys. You know what the cure for sleep is? Pre-workout. It's amazing. Holy shit. This stuff is like rocket fuel.
Oh my gracious.
Why didn't someone tell me this is what energy drinks do? Holy crap. Like, I could, like, live forever. I could take on the world. It's amazing. So you want to, like, full dose of Dr. Jekyll, full dose of Mr. Hyde, and then a little microdose goes a heck of a way. What? Come on now. These people know. Spitha doesn't like for me to tell you guys the whole truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth. But she only wants me to tell the partial truth. Anyways. I don't know how many licks it takes to get in there several lollipop. I usually just crack it with my teeth. So, have you seen the sub-block inoculation machine that pierces the block? What is your opinion on that? I actually really like that, Jacob. I've seen them where they compress, and then they've got these prongs that pierce, and then they pour the spawn in, and it goes straight into the center pieces. I've thought about building something similar for us so we can eliminate shaking entirely, which would just be bag goes through Thor, insert gets put in, bag gets folded, cooked, gets to the lab, we pull the insert out, pour the spawn in, close it up, never shake it. That would reduce my labor bill drastically, actually. That would probably reduce most of the labor that we use. That isn't just
I
Samantha and
hadn't seen that, but I had seen someone posted on Discord. Who was that? It was racks for sale that they had found on Facebook Marketplace, and it was mushroom racks, but not like any that I had ever seen. It was essentially this sharp bar that came out, and it kind of pivoted out, and then you would skewer blocks on top of it until you went a certain height, and then it would push back and lock into this frame. And it was like shish kebab production. It was fancy.
No kidding.
Ah, that would be kind of cool. What if you had a shelving system like that, and it inoculated the mushrooms while incubating them, and you grew them all on the same shelf? Hmm.
I don't know.
That thing would have to be sterile. Maybe you could run it, do like a walk-in autoclave, and just... Never mind. Ignore me.
Let's see. Psilocybin mushrooms from Mexico are the best magic mushroom to grow? I don't know, John. I don't have a lot of experience with those. I'm not really a... not saying that I've never grown them before or never tried them before, but I've never... I don't know. I don't know all the strains out there. I would say talk to the full canopy guys out in Denver. Those guys know strains. Kyle is a wizard. A mycomancer. I saw that you soak your grains and others just boil them. Why do you soak? I soak them so I don't have to boil them. If I boil them, I am increasing my cost by having to heat water, number one. And number two, if I soak them overnight, it's just put them in, put the water in, come in the next morning, drain them. It's just a simpler process, and I prefer to simplify my processes as much as possible because it lowers my complexity, lowers how much I have to manage, lowers the expense, lowers everything. Plus, when I soak them, they start to ferment slightly, and I feel like that helps to break down the outer holes a little bit. So, boiling probably also helps break down the outer holes some. So there is some... I'm not saying boiling's a bad method. I just... Why do it? And people are like, well, so I can have them right now. And I'm like, why do you need your grain right now? If you need your grain right now, you're not planning ahead very well. So, what are y'all spore allergy symptoms? Let's hit this one, Samantha, and then we'll go to a quick break. Spore allergy symptoms.
So, some people, depending on how sensitive you are, your tongue can go numb. That can also be a sensitivity to mold as well, but also to spores from mushrooms. Typically, you can hear yourself wheeze if you have a sensitivity to it. You'll start feeling lightheaded and a headache.
I get a slight itch in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
I get pressure. I can feel it. I get like a pressure right here in my sinus cavity. I get an itch, just a tickle in the back of my throat, and then I know I'm about to start just producing copious amounts of mucus. So,
mine's typically a headache.
Yours is a headache? Yeah, I'll get a headache as well. Hericium gives me a headache almost immediately if we got like a whole crop growing.
It's over here right next to me still, and I'm not having really any issues.
Yeah,
so.
See, if it was closer to me, I probably would be.
Andrew can't even go in the grow room when there's chestnuts in there.
No,
like
chestnuts are the worst for me.
Yeah, so we kind of stopped growing them.
Yeah.
But we will still grow them out, and this is our general philosophy: is everything that we sell in syringe form, we have a lot number, and that lot number is grown out in our own grow room, just as a proof of concept that it's healthy and it does work and it's clean. So we do. Is it frozen?
Yeah, it disconnected and then reconnected. But I'm going to wait until I confirm on the feed. Okay, we are reconnected. Anyways, YouTube servers are giving us a little bit of trouble tonight. But anyways, so the mushroom flu, like Samantha was like, why don't you take some time off? So I took like a day off, and I felt better. And I was like, dang, I must have got a fever and got that bad fever, chills, achy bones, like cold and flu, like congestion, all that stuff. And then I felt better immediately taking a single day off from work. And then I went back to work and immediately started feeling bad again. I was like, oh man, maybe I was just feeling a little bit better, but now the flu's back. So I went and took another day off, immediately felt better. And like a day felt amazing. Took another day off, felt even better. And then went back to work and immediately and I was like, this only happens when I go in the grow room. So I've been pretty much relegated to lab work. It's pretty much my goal. I'll go in the grow room to collect mushroom spores. So by collecting mushroom caps to take spore prints for the breeding project, or to take photos of some of the wild strains, the new stuff, the newly bred strains being tested, or to check on. We sell a lot of dried hericium, so like right now we did what was it, Samantha? 134 bags in the grow room of tribbles yesterday.
I still think it was more than that. You said 160 earlier.
Oh,
and
maybe it was,
I think
it
it's
was
closer to 200.
Maybe it was 160, but
I need to go.
You're right. You're right. It was 164. Okay. And then, so I mean, I'm expecting to get.
My arms were sore the next day from planning, so I know it was way more than.
Well, right. It was like I was sore when I started because I started a new weightlifting routine, but so that should give us something like 73 dried pounds of lion's mane, which is good because I am now out of stock on dried hericium. So thankfully we got some Glenmore and some tribbles that are almost ready to harvest that will be getting dried in the next day or two. Luckily, we fulfilled our last order that we had for dried lion's mane, and now I'm like, crap, before a new other order comes in, I need to just stock up, like hurry. Because usually when people buy, they'll buy like anywhere from 1 to 10 pounds. So.
Or they'll call and want a large amount as a bulk order, and then we won't have it all, so they'll just buy a smaller amount.
Yeah. But I'm trying to keep it in stock as much as possible. And then we do dried oysters. In fact, I don't know when I'm going to get that commercial dehydrator. I need to just go ahead and grab it. But we've got so much other stuff I'm planning on, and just a lot going on. I keep forgetting. But let's hit a sponsor real quick. Or do you have something on that topic you want to say real quick?
Not on that topic. I just wanted to revisit another one because I had more to expand on.
Sponsor. I almost didn't make it back in time. Get you a cool t-shirt. Join the Bioprospecting crew. This is a good chance for us to quickly, Samantha, go over the Mycology project. 3, 2, 1, go.
Me? Okay.
Mycology.
Mycology. So basically, if you're out hunting and you're enjoying the grand outdoors and you come across an oyster mushroom, if you take a picture of it and then send us that photo, and if you can send and ship a small sample of it, not the whole cluster, just one little petal or whatnot, cap, then we can clean it up for you and then ship you either plate, syringe, kit, whatever you prefer. I'm trying to push for all three, and then kind of a thank you card back in response as, thank you for doing this. And then we would upkeep that strain in our library, and then it would also be sent off for DNA sequencing, DNA testing, and then any sales that we will be selling them to other mushroom farmers. But any sales that are made, we're not charging an exorbitant amount for them, would be going toward the upkeep of that strain as a conservation effort, essentially, to collect the biodiversity of everywhere, really.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we can get pretty much anywhere, for sure.
Did I do okay?
You did great.
Okay.
You did excellent. I'm starting to get her trained on the suddenness of things. Samantha's a pre-planner and I'm a winger, so if I wing it, I'm trying to get Samantha to learn to wing it a little bit, and she's trying to get me to learn to plan it a little bit better. So,
it's a fine line.
It is. And we balance each other out on that, so for sure. Let's see. Somebody said grasshoppers taste good. I agree. Cooked right, fried up, cut the legs off, cut the head off, the wings off, and bam, tastes good. Actually, maybe we leave the head on. I can't remember what we did last time. I'm sorry.
La 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 la.
I don't understand her reticence. Like, why you look so nonplussed? Lion's mane, matsutake, mayatake, shiitake. What is the first best mushroom to grow? Out of all of those, lion's mane. Matsutake, you're not going to be able to grow. Shiitake takes way too long, but if you're patient, it's a great one to grow. The strain 3790, sitting around for incubated for about 12 weeks. It's a good mushroom. Lion's mane, you're going to start seeing mushrooms about day 14. You'll be able to pick them, day 21, something like that, oftentimes. Oysters are going to take you about the same amount of time. But matsutake, you're just not going to be able to grow. Maitake takes... I personally like my maitake to sit in incubation for about 6 months. I don't know what everybody else's recommended is, so I just grow it the way I grow it, which is I never even open the bag. I just grow it until it grows in the top and fills the bag, and then I cut all that up. And then we sell that to people and give it to people, and we call them antler velvet mushrooms. So that's probably... It's just Caden. So the dog's going off. I prefer lion's mane. Lion's mane is easily... Hericiums are just... I'm obsessed with oysters, and I always come back to oysters, but my second love is hericiums, which sucks because they try to murder me. I try to grow them and provide the best environment I can for them, and in return, they slowly choke me to death with really weak child hands. So, are you going to go check on the...
Yeah.
Okay. Leaving me alone. Can Pacific cauliflower be able to be propagated? I don't know what Pacific cauliflower is, but the cauliflower mushroom, as far as I know, has some capacity to be cultivated, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone outside of anyone in China growing it, but I think it's possible. Vinegar and salt are my favorite food groups. I like salt and vinegar potato chips, if that helps. I will say that I love vinegar anyways, but Samantha and I like to take, if we're going out hiking, we'll take crackers, sardines, and then little vials of mushroom powder, just oyster mushroom powder that's been heat treated, maybe smoked. So you take your cracker and you get some sardines on it, and then you sprinkle some oyster mushroom powder on it. Oh, it's such good trail food. Do you have any experience with coroplast counterflow heat exchangers for managing the cost of grow room temps? Heard some crazy claims about them. I personally don't have experience with them, but I know a lot of people that do, and a lot of people in my Discord have built them. They usually call them heat exchangers, or what do they normally call them, Samantha? I've seen them a lot. I can't remember the word that they've been throwing around the Discord, but
They call them heat exchangers?
Yeah, they're heat exchangers, or what's that called? Right there on the top of the ceiling right here. That's exchanging air for incubation. HRVs.
Yeah.
The HRVs is what they're called. See you, boy. Don't get in trouble. Love you. So the HRVs, I know someone in Montana who uses one. He literally showed me negative 16 degree air coming in one side of the HRV for the price of running a fan, and out the other side into the grow room, it was 62 degrees. He was recovering that much energy. I know people that use them in Florida and had a 95, 96% recovery rate. Georgia, not Florida, Georgia. Atlanta, where it was hot. So I know in places where it's hot and places where it's really cold, they work really, really well. I know where I've got mine. I've got a small one here for incubation, just to keep fresh air in incubation. If we look behind Samantha, that is hundreds of blocks. If we were sitting in here without air exchange, we would be sitting in toxic air. So we have an air exchange that is, you're not on camera anymore, and we're recovering the energy, where we're heating this room in the wintertime. We're recovering a lot of that energy back, and it is quite effective. The coroplast ones are quite effective. Hey, it's difficult to find staff to work on the mushroom. Hey, is it difficult to find staff to work on the mushroom business? What?
Sorry. Yes,
Okay.
it is.
No, it's not hard to find staff. It is hard to find quality staff. So, in fact, what we've started doing is we actually just pay really good wages to part-time people who are really good quality part-time people we know. And that's what we've started doing now is just hiring contractors, like people who we know are super hard workers and just saying, hey, we know you already work a job, but do you want to come work a few more hours here and we'll pay you $25 an hour. And
that's been a really, really, really good solution for us.
it has.
Someone who has a main job,
Yep.
who shows up every day, who wants to keep it, who's worked there for 10, 15, 20 years, a good, dependable individual. Get a few of those in your circle and then have them work 4 to 5 to 6 hours a week for you.
Yep.
At $25 an hour. That's been our new strategy.
And it's worked exceedingly well so far.
Yeah.
Jacob Wolves, how does one pasteurize blocks in deep winter as troughs and barrels freeze outside? How does Ben manage in Bozeman? Ben manages in Bozeman, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling you this since it's all over the Discord and everything, but Easy Bakes. He uses Easy Bake barrels, and he uses them indoors. It's one of the advantages of Easy Bake barrels is that you can put them on a 110 circuit, and they can be indoors because they don't steam. They don't let steam out. So they just recirculate their water in them. The Easy Bakes...
Yeah, but
he's got big ones, and they're custom built, all steel.
That's what I was going to
on
say.
Casters.
He
spent
in typical fashion.
money.
He has gone the
All
extra
Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben has gone the Ben way.
And it has gone into the level of awesomeness that only he can reach as far as he goes shoom.
Yeah, Ben takes everything to the next level. And sometimes I'm like horrified at just how extra he goes, but he goes extra and it's worked for him. So actually, he and I have talked about we're like, we should go into business together, and then we're both like, yeah, but you're really orderly, and he's like, yeah, but you're really
go with the
flow, and I'm like, we would drive each other insane. This cannot happen.
And Andrew's like, will it work? It'll work.
I'm like, I don't know. Let's see. Hey, that block, you didn't shake it all the way. Ben's the type that would reshake it. I'm just like, send it. It'll all average out. I want the averages. King Blue Reboot, King Blue 2.0. Tell us about the KBI. Long lives the king. So there's some chatter going on.
Andrew be like, it'll call, or let's see, what was in my head?
I have no idea. I often don't.
Will it colonize? It'll colonize, but it'll be a little while.
It might be a little bit longer.
I'll remember this later when I don't want to remember it.
So KBI is a strain of King Blue that started out by aerating liquid culture. And what I did was I aerated a lot of liquid culture and inoculated it with a tiny piece of King Blue. And it had to have happened during the aeration process because every single block, this was a LLC to direct to bulk inoculation, and the King Blue proliferated in the jar, became like a jelly. We put a bunch of it in a bunch of blocks. They grew in. We never had to shake them. But then by the time it grew out a very different color and a little firmer texture, and it was still quite aggressive. So we took that strain and we started playing with it and to see if the change was permanent. And we've either had an epigenetic change or a shift in the genome, but definitely a shift in the phenotype of the King Blue. And we've tested it and run it through, and it's just a fantastic, happy accident. Really, I guess, is a mutation from the high amounts of sugar I put in the aerated batch, or the amount of mechanical stress caused a mutation potentially that took over. So, or we just somehow flipped, like I said, an epigenetic switch that has been an awesome switch to flip. So that's the King Blue improved imposter or whatever. I wish I could post pics here. I've made spalted maple burl earrings. My wife is a quilter, made a spalted burl seam ripper. That's pretty cool. I love working with spalted wood. I saw it. Chris Kennedy said, or no, Joe, you said the same thing. I absolutely love spalt. I really am working on a lot of spalting experiments. I think there's something to this. I think that there is, like, I can just feel that there is profit to be made in the spalting world. And I think that we need a lot more people to do it. But I think mushrooms are going to have to get more popular before we start seeing spalting take over. So, in fact, I'm thinking about starting to offer, my mentorships are starting to shift. And I think that this year, we haven't even put up our dates for this year. We've started taking some mentorships, like scheduling them in. I think I'm going to do fewer this year, but I'm also going to do targeted ones. We're going to do a commercial grow. I think I'm going to do a advanced laboratory techniques mentorship. And then I think we may even work on a primitive growing with mushrooms. And I think I'm going to put spalting in there somewhere.
Well, and we're not seeing the same level of freedom that people were having as far as being able to come in for the entire 5 days or for the entire week.
Yep.
And so they're pushing to do like a partial mentorship where it's only 2 days long or 3 days long, or a weekend mentorship or something.
I guess I didn't really explain that very well, so what I'm thinking about is the timing wise is we'll pick a week for the mentorship, and we'll say we're going to offer classes. Really is what it's going to be this week. So if you want to come in for advanced, for the commercial growers like boot camp, we can do like a 2-day course and get people the basics in a couple of days, right? And then they can get the advanced stuff going. And then like the last 3 days of that same week, we'll offer a advanced laboratory technique course. So if you want to take both the production side, you can take the production side. If you want to take the laboratory side, you can take the laboratory side. And if you want to take the whole week as a mentorship, basically, you could do both.
We've had some different personality types as well. We have some people that just come in and they are just sponges. It doesn't seem to faze them that it's a lot of information thrown at them all at once, or they have enough sufficient experience previously that they can come in and just basically confirm. It's almost like they'll take the mentorship as a confirmation that they're doing the right thing, which I think is interesting and very cool, and super thankful to have the interaction. But a lot of people, I think, they just need permission to start. I don't know. That's something that we've noticed. Something else that we've noticed is some people are a bit more tentative as far as getting their feet wet, or they want to hear one specific thing. And this is just different learning styles, They want to hear one specific thing, and then they want to go try that one thing and then move to the next step and then confirm and accomplish and master that before they move to the next one. So someone asked the other day, they called and I was on the phone with them, and they asked if they could do like a seasonal thing where they come in for 2 days and then wait, a few months, master that one thing, and then come in a few more days for their next set. And this is one of the reasons why Andrew and I are thinking about breaking it down into specific courses. Yeah. And that also gives them time to build up more vacation days, or to be able to take advantage of vacation days and sparsing them out, throughout the year. And a lot of people like to come down here, especially in East Tennessee. They'll go to Dollywood in the summer, or they'll come in the fall when the leaves are changing, and they'll just go hike at Cades Cove, And how neat would that be to be able to go to one of your favorite places and experience it during multiple seasons? So there's that too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. If you can spell them, we need to get you trained on truffles. I could about be a truffle hound.
You probably could.
Or truffle pig.
The chote line.
the chote noise. That's my mom calls that the chote. Well, it's not as polite, but for some reason, all the members of my family on the chote side can make that. Which is funny because chote is French for little pig, or chote is. And my family's crest was a pig. Yep. Now you know why.
Was it a boar?
It was a boar. That's a pig.
Vicious boar.
I guess the boar is more badass, but. All right, I feel you on nose hunting. I used to full stop on trail runs and find lovely caps. Yeah, I mean that's great. People don't believe me a lot of times until I take them out in the woods and I show them. But What's truffles? Yep, truffles are a thing. If anybody wants to know anything about truffles, the best thing to do is go to mushroom growing on Facebook and type in the name Jasmine Richardson. I think she's got her doctorate now, but she's got some stuff published in there about some of her research on truffles. I think she has a truffle orchard now.
I remember Jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's. She's a super cool human being. Humans are extremely sensitive to the smell of rain. One of the main components of petrichor at concentrations as low as 0.4 parts per billion. This means that humans are 200,000 times more sensitive to geosmin than sharks are to blood. That's pretty neat. I mean, the smell of good earth shows you just how important finding good earth was for humans back in the day. Now, with mushroom farms, we can manufacture good earth. Ask me how. How do you get rid of fungus flies? We don't get rid of fungus flies. We manage fungus fly populations. The way we do this is we put our blocks on a 4-week cycle so that it helps to interrupt the breeding cycle of the flies at most of the temperatures we're working at. We use fly strips, like just regular old fly strips you can find from Walmart with the pine rosin on them and the baited pine rosin. Find those to be put them on the vertical slats between shelves, very effective at controlling fly populations. And keep your floors dry. Your floors in a mushroom farm should not be wet. Wet floors are bacteria-ridden. They are fly breeding zones. Keep your floors dry. Do you have a favorite brand of flow hood? We just make our own. Like, we buy the fan and buy the filter and then just build the box ourselves. There are some really cool ones, like Air Science makes some cool ones. Bonsai Filtration. I'm going to give them a shout out. I have no affiliation with Bonsai. Bonsai, if you hear this and you want to affiliate, let me know. But your flow hoods are gorgeous.
I actually got to see them up close in person at the Oklahoma Festival, and I was like, is this metal or is this what it's? He does such a good job on sanding and doing multiple coats of wipeable paint that I was just like, geez, these are super easy to dust, clean, wipe down.
Yep.
Like I was pretty impressed.
Bonsai's pretty cool. If you want a really small, like, mobile filter, I got one from Lab Rats. And so Lab Rats, in fact, it's right over there, the Nomad model. So I have a Nomad from Lab Rats. Bonsai's filtrations and flow hoods are just beautiful. I've never used one, but they are gorgeous. Air Science has got them. You'll see all kinds of different companies selling like the more scientific models with the plexiglass chambers on them. I will say, more than a favorite brand, I have a favorite style, and that is the horizontal flow, where the flow flows towards you. The vertical flow is also good, and it works, and I see a lot of people using them. They're really good, I think, for pouring plates, the vertical flow is. But I will tell you that I feel like nothing beats the horizontal flow when it comes to sheer adaptability and raw productive power in a lab. If you got a 3x4 horizontal flow hood, you can literally... The great thing about the horizontal flow without the plexiglass is that you can have a big table, you can inoculate block after block after block, and they just slide them off to the other side, where you've got someone down there shaking who doesn't have to be in a flow, and the whole system where you can just go from left to right. You're protected in the air. We actually lift our hood a few inches when we're in the production lab because we're dealing with just fruiting blocks and we're never working with plates there. So there's about this much gap where it's just the flow hood sitting on a 2x4 frame, to where it would be dangerous if I was working with plates there because the air would be dragging dirty air with it. But where we're working with bags, we actually want to protect at a higher place so that when we're pouring and lifting, we're not getting out of the airflow. Or, worse yet, it would be better to be in outside the airflow than it is to be at the very top part of your laminar flow. Because think about it, everything falls down, hits that top part of the laminar flow, and flows forward.
For the sake of maybe someone watching this later who isn't as familiar, what is the alternate alternative to the horizontal flow?
The vertical flow. It's those ones that flow from the top down.
Gotcha. Okay.
They've got the plexiglass sides typically. They're usually made in like flow cabinets. Like I said, I think they're really good for pouring plates because what happens is you pour plates, pour. I did this method because we use a peristaltic pump now. But you use your pump, you stack them up.
I have for a while.
And then have for a while. But you use those stacks. You remember when I was training you?
Mm-hmm.
We've got those stacks of dishes. The vertical flow flows down. And you remember how I told you we had to bag those up or they would dry out. That's because that horizontal flow hits the dish, goes through the dish, and out the other side, and will dry them out. The vertical flow allows the air to flow on the outside of the dishes. They kind of create, with their shape, a kind of a still air jacket. Think about the first bird in the V, and the second birds are getting that airflow around them to where they have a smoother spot they can go. That's every dish below that first dish. So they don't dry out. Most of the guys I've talked to that pour plates for a living use vertical flow cabinets, and they just close them up and let them just continue flowing, and they don't have any problem. The condensation will leave. They don't have any worry about the plates drying out. Whereas the horizontal flow does. But that's why I pour them, and an hour later I come and bag them up. So that's the big difference for me. So I don't really have a favorite brand, just a favorite style. How important is consistent incubation tips if the blocks don't pin, in your opinion? What do you mean if the blocks don't pin, Jacob? I'm sorry, do you mean you want to keep them from pinning or what? See if you can write me that answer here in a minute. We're actually running out of time pretty quick. This show has really passed me by pretty quick.
A lot of awesome questions.
There's a lot of awesome questions. That's why actually the Q&As are oftentimes my favorite, just because it actually takes a little bit of the pressure off me. I'm able to just answer rather than have to think about what I'm saying.
You're thinking about what you're saying.
I am, but I'm thinking about a response rather than having to build from the void.
Curating a thematic show for the sake of, And we actually talked about this earlier. We're like, okay, well, what about a Q&A? We always start on the weekend and we start discussing what we're going to plan and prepare for throughout the week. But the Q&As they're authentic, and it gives us feedback as to what everyone wants to know. And it also gives you guys full access to us too. So we really like it.
Is it dangerous to grow 2 buckets worth of lion's mane in my bedroom? I can't exhaust it out the window, but I can exhaust it into my bud plants tent. I wouldn't necessarily say dangerous. I mean, if you've got a plant in your room that's producing a ton of pollen, it wouldn't be much more dangerous than that. I can't imagine. Because you will develop sensitivities to pollen as well as spores. That said, it really would be better to vent it somewhere. And if you can vent it to your bud plants, that's probably fine. Lion's mane shouldn't interfere with that. Oysters might kill your bud plants. It depends on, they will sometimes cover them with spores.
I'd also be extra cautious and pick early and often. Don't let it spore at all.
Pick early and often. Don't let it spore. It's better, just to be safe. If you're doing it this way, you're probably not doing it for an income, so you can afford to just pick them early and have the freshest possible.
So we had a customer purchase a kit from us. This is years and years and years ago. We don't really do kits anymore. But he purchased a kit from us, and then they went on vacation for 2 weeks to the Bahamas and came back, and the kit had fruited and spored all over the table. And they came back and they were like, "Can you replace the kit?" And we were like, "No, it did its job. You just neglected it." And then 2, it was, "What's the white flower stuff?" And we were like, "Okay, and we likened it kind of to pollen." And told him it was just spores. You can wipe it up. But he said that he had a horrible headache, the obvious sensitivity to spores. He had all the symptoms. And then he ended up getting flu-like symptoms right after that. And I was like, it was probably, you may want to consider growing something else as a hobby on your kitchen table.
Yeah. Yeah, go grow some frogs, buddy. I only say that because I'm getting.
Or grow the
I've
mushrooms.
already told everyone.
Have fun with it.
I've told everyone in the shop I'm getting a Pac-Man frog, and it's going to be my Dr. Solerian mascot. And I told Samantha I want her to make me a Battletoad character, and I want a big bushy beard as a Battletoad. I don't know how that's going to work, but gosh, I want to play that game.
Toads don't have beards.
Of course they don't, but I do. And I'm basically a human toad. I got the belly for it. And if you look at me from behind when I'm putting on pants, it's like a frog putting on pants. Imagine that. There is big old legs and no butt at all. Have you ever thought about trying to develop a strain of pinks that have a longer shelf life? They are always such a favorite at the market, but the flavor goes south so fast. How did you know one of my breeding projects? So I am working on 2 different strains of pink right now. I'm working on a cold temperature pink, one that'll grow like way down into the 40s is what I'm working on. I have not had a lot of headway in that direction. Pinks don't want to grow that cold. I might have to stair-step the generations towards that. But the other side of that is I want to breed a pink that holds color and shelf life longer. That one's going to be a long process, just because the selective pressure is all the way at the end. So I'm going to have to test a lot of strains. I'm going to have to produce and then test a lot of strains, and then go back to the breeding. And it's going to be slower because my generations have to go a full cycle before I can go and get the genetic material to continue the strain. I'm also working on a hot temperature blue that will keep its color in the blue. A hot temperature enoki. I'm working on that. And
because the blues normally turn gray in the heat.
Yeah, I'm looking. So BS26 is probably the closest I've gotten to a blue that maintains blue in the warmth. BS26 is a hoss when it comes to keeping color. So that one has started to feature in my breeding program a little bit, but I've also started bringing in the wild black nut from Austria, which is that really dark blue. That I have started breeding to several different other parent stock that I'm then going to try and see if we can't, like some some oysters that are much higher temperature tolerant. But we're still, we're still months away from the first, probably early successes in that way. So breeding towards heat is actually a lot easier than breeding towards cold, by the way. Because as you go, you can raise the temperatures and you can breed generations faster and faster and faster and faster. So, how long do you soak your grains? About 12 hours, usually just overnight. And the grain still feels hard. You just want to be able to dent it with a fingernail. It doesn't have to be you don't want it to be soft and squishy. Soft and squishy will turn into like a congealed glue sometimes in your grain bags. Would you use a bag of grain that has been ready for about a month and is now getting some brown color and liquid in it? Nope. That one's a short one. Wouldn't do it. Dang, that sucks, y'all. I grow in my office. I do have a filter on the exhaust, but it's going to suck when I get sensitive to it. You know, you may never. I mean, I know people who've been irresponsibly working without respirators for like decades and still never developed a problem.
I'm semi one of them.
Yeah, Samantha worked for... Samantha's been doing this for, holy shit, 11 years now. You've been working commercially.
Yeah.
And it has taken her 11 years to develop a slight sensitivity.
Yeah.
I might have missed it, but how did that experiment go when you attempted to grow chicken in the woods indoors? I've not tried it in a little while, since, last summer. But the main thing is that I started getting substantial fruiting But basically, I was side fruiting it, and I didn't realize until I read Peter McCoy's book, and this has already happened, that where Chicken of the Woods mycelium is so fluffy, and I'd never really ever gotten it to a good fruiting stage. I'd gotten it like a quarter pound or something like that. But on this one, when I started getting actual substantial fruitings, they started to shelf out, and then immediately that fluffy mycelium just wouldn't hold on. It just fell off. Every single one of them fell off the block. So there are some people that are suggesting, and I think McCoy may do it in Radical Mycology, where he talks about putting a skewer or like a popsicle stick or something. Just you cut your hole, push the popsicle stick in, and then as the Chicken of the Woods grows, it'll kind of grow along that popsicle stick as well. And where you've got that deep in the bag, it should be providing some stability. I'll be trying that, because what I can do then is harvest, pull that popsicle stick, just cut the popsicle stick free or pull it free or whatever, and then you've got Chicken of the Woods to sell.
I did notice that it colonized the bag really, really well. It climbed up the bag, and it was a bit spongy.
Yeah. Well, it's in Chicken of the Woods mycelium oftentimes is so spongy, soft, aerial, whatever, that like if I open, it's the last thing I'll work with. If I'm going to work with Chicken of the Woods and I'm working on something other than liquid culture, it'll be the last thing I do in the lab. I treat it like a contaminant, because when I open that dish, chains of mycelium just start flying off the dish from even the low flow of the HEPA filter, and I'll end up with little chunks of Chicken of the Woods mycelium all in my beard. It's just these little feathery, fluffy bits that are super light and airy. So just have to just kind of work with it.
I think next time we try this, I might cut the top of the bag off and kind of peel that off the plastic on the inside, and maybe fry it on both, or like toast it on both sides. See if we can roll it up like a burrito.
I could try it. Masked Mofo has got a good question. He said, "Where's that like button?" There's that like button. It's 9:30, guys. I'm gonna take another quick break. We're gonna check out. Let's check in with Dr. Solari and see what he's got for us, huh?
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich, amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
And we're back. So, get you some liquid culture premix of Dr. Silurian's. You know, I may or may not have had a hand in helping him with it, but that's some good stuff. It is specifically formulated according to Lloyd Lung's work from the 1960s on what sugars and else helps to produce the most mycelial mass in a liquid fermentation. And so this is not just LC premix. This is LC premix that we have gone a little bit up and above and beyond for. So get you some. It actually, we're still waiting on some of the labels, so you know we're like getting some cool labels for it. Samantha's definitely come up with something I really like, but we're gonna hopefully have some. We've already got the cool black packs. Because everything's got to be black for us. We like black. Black clothes, black eyeliner, it all, right? Anyways, the fastest growing mushroom that also gave me the biggest flushes so far have been the Devil's Back Up Trail strain. Yeah, that strain can kick it. What's funny is I still not even released the Devil's Back, which is a good oyster and should be released. I just haven't done it.
It's very tightly. It's ruffled.
Tight capped. Oh, so the Devil's Back Up Trail, what I like is like when you cut it, it like all the caps are really tight, right? Like there's almost no stem in them whatsoever. They just come out as built like a brick house.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
It's just one
It's
cap
like if you had
stacked
thrown.
on another.
It's like if you had thrown a mushroom into a serger, like
Yeah.
like the ruffled serger on a sewing machine.
And then the Devil's Back has definitely got it's got a nice good ruffle to it. So, yeah, that's a good strain, man. I mean, that thing produces. It's a good wild one too. And this is something I'm finding is I'm really liking some of the wild oysters. I've got a test going on right now of our our Elm Blue Cross, crossed with a Rifle Creek oyster, which is a wild oyster. So we've got a bred oyster being bred with the wild oyster, and I'm really excited to see what it does. Like I just initiated the test blocks yesterday, so we got at least 10 days probably before we start really seeing good sized fruit coming off of them. But super excited about that because it's a pearly, beautiful, stark white oyster being crossed with one of the most chocolatey browns I've ever seen. I have no idea what this is going to do. I've never done this kind of cross, so super exciting. What?
I wonder if it's going to be like a brown center and a white edge.
Or it could just be like a blah oyster. Who knows? It's probably... This is the thing.
Blah oyster.
Well, it's just going to be like, yeah, it's a little brown. Yeah, like all the other oysters in the world. So we'll see. I inoculated my mammoth tusk today. Do you have any growing? I don't have any growing in the grow room right now. And I made a bag of it up, of grain, just the other day, alongside Fractal. And then Samantha stole my Fractal to fulfill an order. And then my mammoth tusk got contaminated, so I had to remake it. So it's growing right now. But then I planted the Mushroom Shop LLC's porcelain mushroom. And then alongside that, I replanted mammoth tusk. But I forgot to replant Fractal. So...
Well, and that contamination was traced back to my not pouring enough water into the autoclave, and it kept turning on and off again during the entire cook.
Yeah, shame on you.
So...
How dare you?
We threw out all of those bags, and it was exactly 24 bags. So
it was exactly one autoclave load.
Mm-hmm.
I made it. Happy Thursday, all. Well, happy Thursday. Just picked oyster brown in color in Sulphur Springs near Jonesboro, Tennessee yesterday. Do I need to pack and ice to send to you? So usually I need to get the SOP written up. Don't worry, guys. I will get a commercial up and a whole page on our website about how to handle samples to the Mycologium. The best thing you can do is take a picture of it, where it was, send us the picture, hopefully with GPS coordinates so that we can put an iNaturalist listing on it and get it DNA tested. But if you don't, that's fine. You can just tell us where you found it. We'll estimate. But that way you don't have to give up your patch if you're worried about giving up your patch. But we won't tell anybody. It'll just be on iNaturalist. The other side of it is if you take the stem butts from that oyster or even just pack the full oysters in a Ziploc bag. I know people tell you usually not to do plastic, but if you do that with a piece of moistened, not sopping wet, moistened cardboard or paper towel, then what will happen is usually it'll survive transit to us. The stem butts may start growing into that cardboard, and I can clone from the cardboard, or if the oyster is still in really good shape, I can clone from the oyster. And an ice pack is useful, but not necessary. Most of the time, by the time strains get to me, the ice pack is fully melted. So it may help, but where you're in Jonesboro, Tennessee, if you mailed it tomorrow, it'd be here Monday, so I wouldn't worry about it. But make sure you put your address in it so we can, like, where you want us to return your sample back to, or if you want a liquid culture out of our library, just check out the website, tell us what you want, and we'll ship that out to you. As soon as we confirm that the culture we got from you is clean. And but again, if you want a kit of it or a sample back of the strain that you send us, we will do that too.
And that's what I'm wanting. That's what I'm pushing for, because I think it's incredibly romantic, especially if you go out hunting with your dad or your grandfather or children or whatever, and then you send this in, and then you get a kit back that you can grow out with your family. Like, I think that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do personally.
Oh, I agree. That's actually my entire talk at the Oklahoma Mushroom Festival this year, or all the festivals I'll be doing, whatever talks I'm giving. I have a single talk that I'm giving at multiple festivals, but the whole talk is about bioprospecting. In particular, bioprospecting and using it as a way to get your family into the outdoors, to get into the outdoors more yourself, to go camping, to get out and interact with nature in a bigger way. So it's a talk I'm really passionate and really excited about. So much so that you guys we've talked about recording. Cameron asked us last week about recording some of our bioprospecting adventures. That sparked a whole, which, we already had some of the idea, but that kind of sparked some more discussion about the possibility of us doing, instead of as many live streams, cutting back just a little bit so we can travel more, but also so we'll do a couple live streams a month and then do a whole release videos on our bioprospecting adventures. And that, I think, would be pretty cool. So bioprospecting, collecting these wild genetics and getting them into the archive from all over the place, but in particular, urban areas and threatened woodlands is something that we're really, really passionate about.
Well, then you can harvest off that kit and make a meal with your family too. And I just recognized that I made a contradiction to where I said we don't really make kits anymore. It's really, we don't make kits to hold an inventory of all the varieties that anyone can possibly want and just maintain and hold on to it forever. But we do custom make kits for this sort of case kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a question. So when do you expect the KBI to be for sale? Also, I wonder if the aggressiveness of KBI lent itself to being able to mutate under the mechanical stress of the aerated LC. I actually wondered about that myself, Jacob and Rachel. The quickness with which it grows, the rapid iteration of cells. I've wondered if that does indeed kind of lend it more towards mutating, because that's really when you have a strong metabolic process, like cell replacement in particular, that's when you have the highest chance for mutations. So what you want to do typically is, if you're going to try to cause mutations, there's multiple ways to do it. You can do freezing, you can do rattlesnake venom, you can do UV light, but what you want to do is stress it and then put it under perfect conditions for growing immediately. As to when it'll be for sale, this is a Samantha question, because Samantha, when will the new website be released? This is something we're struggling with right now, guys. Releasing a website was supposed to be January 1st. That is not Samantha's fault. We are literally, every time we go to release the new website, we find out about a new step that we were not informed about every time we go to release. So.
Well, and then I've been having trouble with going and editing things.
Well, that too. Every time we go down, it's like, oh, Bluehost is down. We can't edit the thing we needed to edit today.
And then I'll go through the whole cycle of customer support, and they're like, oh, yes, we're aware of this problem.
It'll be fixed. Just wait.
It'll be fixed. And I'm like, why are none of my websites, even the main website, showing up right now for me to even edit or see? And then it's just one thing after another.
Yeah, so the kind of the thing is we're like right on the verge of releasing this new website. So we're not putting stuff on the old website just to have to go put it on the new website too and then release that.
But I'm
And
so excited. I am so excited.
I'm excited about it too, and it
also
fills me with
full of-
anxiety. I'll tell you right now, because my income depends on this website. So we're like, crap, if we release this and it goes bad and we're down for 5 days, we're screwed. 5 days income's a lot of loss. So
And John asked if we hired a third party or if I was building it. I am building it, John. So hopefully that answers
yeah.
that question.
Atlas 4292. How do you test the validity of your flow hood? So there's a couple different ways. Number one, you can do what's called a lighter test. This will help you test your flow. You take a Bic lighter, light it, and then bring it to your work area. And what you're going to do is you'll take that. My thought is at the end of your table, it ought to be like kind of bouncing. The flame ought to not have a strong lean to it. But as you get to where you are working, where your hands go to work, you should have your Bic lighter, your flame should be at about a 45-degree angle. It should be blowing back at you pretty constant. So make sure you turn your hand like that, so that way the flame doesn't burn your thumb. And then by the time you get closer and closer to the hood, a couple of inches away from the filter face, it should snuff that flame out. Now, if you want to do a test of how sterile your air is, if you have a test for sterility's sake, what you would do is you'd put your dishes down, agar dishes, and what I like to do is a left, center, right for my 3-foot, my 3x4 hood. So left, center, right, open the dishes, let them sit for 2.5 minutes, wait, whatever, 5-minute test. The longer the test, the more likely you are going to have a contaminant. But you close those up. You can also do oftentimes what I'll do is 3 sets of 3, left, middle, right. I'll do a test at 1 minute, a test at 3 minutes, and a test at 5 minutes, and then set those aside, and then just see if any contaminants develop. If your dishes stay clean, you shouldn't. Then your flow is clean. So there you go. Samantha, do you have your phone?
I do.
Will you answer Charles? I'd say about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's probably how much longer we'll be on the live stream. So just so you guys know. So hit those questions. I'm going to have to start hitting them rapidly here in a second. But so that's how I test my flow hood, Atlas, is those two different ways. You can also do a smoke tracer test if you're really into it. I got spore swabs of my local Ganoderma yesterday. I also got some samples and plated them. Once I get some clean growth, I'll get them sent out to you with the swabs. Yeah, please. Happily. I love Ganodermas. They're one of my favorites. I just sent off... I keep wanting to talk about this, but I'm not... Whatever. We sent off all of our strains to Fungi Florist on Instagram because I love his reishi artwork. So I sent off every Ganoderma that I collected this past year, whether that be from Georgia, Tennessee, New York, whatever, and got those all sent off. What to do when worms appear in blocks? Like spin substrate, or that's fly larva, just get rid of the block. Yeah, just throw the block away. How important is consistent incubation temps as long as the blocks don't pin? Jacob, I feel like you just asked that question. What brand of parapump are you using? Cowmore? Kaomer or something like that. One last question. I noticed your king oyster the other night looked like they were side fruited. Yes, they are. We side fruit pretty much everything. Top fruiting has not been effective for me with chestnut, king, or black poplar. We side fruit all of those. Except, I guess, chestnut, we too tend to top fruit chestnut.
We side fruit chestnut too.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Okay. QQQ, what is up with lion's mane on agar? It looks like nothing I've ever grown or will only just pin on a piece of agar. I transferred it from, is it healthy, Is it all good? Should I just wait? You should just wait. Hericiums have this little thing about them where if you clone from fruit, they will fruit on the fruit that's fruiting on the fruit that you fruited. Right? That's what it does. I think it's a hormonal thing. Kind of like when you take a cutting and you dip it in rooting hormone and then put that in your cloner. I think that Hericium fruit has fruiting signifiers, hormones, whatever in it. And so it takes a while to revert back to growing on the dish. When it does grow on the dish, it'll be very wispy, very fine, and it usually won't thicken up until you start running out of food in the dish. But Hericiums are definitely kind of a pain on agar. They take a long time to revert back. And then, best 3 tips for someone who has just began their myco journey. If you are okay, and that would be great. Enjoy your videos, watch countless amount. The Bearded Grower. Best 3 tips for someone just beginning their myco journey.
Patience.
Patience. That's a good one. Playfulness. So I've got a few different things, and they're kind of segmented, I guess. So one would be, don't complicate your process too quickly. Be willing to work simple. Be willing to work backwards. So work from the fruiting stage back into lab work. That's usually the easiest way to go. I'm not saying that you can't be successful going straight into lab work, but to me, it'd be better to buy a kit than buy spawn and make a block, and then buy liquid culture and make grain spawn, and then buy agar and make liquid culture, and then keep working your way back after you've had the experience of the first ones. Because if you do that, you're going to have far more successes early on that are going to propel you. And then you'll learn about each one of those steps and then get back further and further into the areas where you're working with things you cannot see. That's really what we're doing with microbiology is we're working with things that we can't see. We're guessing a lot. Sometimes it's educated guesses and sometimes it's not. So that's a couple of things. Philosophically, keep your head open, keep your mind open. You don't have to do what everyone says, but you should listen to people, particularly if they have experience. There is a reason why people do things the way they do them. And it might be a stupid reason that you can fix later, but get experience first before feeling like you know it all already. The other thing of that is a lot of people get into mushrooms and they want to be the mushroom guy, and so as they learn things, they don't accredit the people that they learn techniques from, the people they get strains from, the people that they do, and this has been hurtful in the community. I'm not just talking about my own personal experience. I mean, I was on the phone today with someone for a couple of hours who he was talking about the exact same thing, where what you're seeing is you get a lot of people in that get really competitive, and they don't want to give credit where credit is due. They want to glory hog themselves, and this is a community that is much more. We definitely like being credited for what we teach. And that credit continues to go up into what you might even consider like mushroom lineages, where I learned this thing from so-and-so who learned it from so-and-so who learned it from so-and-so. But I think that's an important thing to keep is a humble attitude in it. I learned a lot because I was humble early, and I may not be as humble now, but I try to at least when I'm learning stuff. So.
Well, you want to brag on something that you did.
Oh yeah.
If it worked out well.
I want the credit.
I think that's
too,
everyone.
for sure. Yeah. But at the same time, it's there's a lot of teachers in this community, a lot of people who have given a lot of free information, and we want them to keep doing it. We definitely want them to keep doing it. So I think that's an important way to go. It's an important thing to remember. The technical stuff's just going to come. If people ask for that, I feel like a lot of times they're like, what's the best 3 things? And they're wanting technical answers. And my answers are usually philosophical. the way you approach the technical things is more important to me than that you learn the technical things immediately. So, approach it in a good cultural fashion.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And I will say that a lot of the individuals that I've seen in this game for a really long time, they're very authentic, very open-hearted, and they lift each other up and they lift others up, and they're not like stingy. They'll share and come in, and if they discover something new, then they'll share with whoever asks, kind of thing. And that's typically what we try to establish, unless it's like the exact same question over and over and over again, and you have a job to do and you need to get it done, kind of thing. Then we're like, okay, well, we made a video for this. Go watch it, please. Establish these basics first, and then come back to us, which is why we do these Q&As. But I agree with Andrew on the steps of kind of work backwards, because I've seen farms start out that try to do it all at once while they're still learning, and it's a lot to contend with. It's a lot to handle, and it's something we actually struggled with. We ordered in spawn, for a good little bit, and we would go grain to grain with the spawn, and that helped us really up our production game, and it helped us grow mushrooms and sell to restaurants and make money in immediately. And then we were able to start producing spawn later on down the road, whenever we had a crew to handle the other part. We weren't just trying to do it all at once, all at the same time. And that really helped. I feel like too many people try to do everything in-house all at once, and they end up failing because they've burnt themselves out, or they feel like it's not for them because they're overwhelmed and they're stressed. And just give yourself grace, give yourself time. And then if you feel like you're struggling in one thing, maybe concentrate on that on the side on a small scale, but make sure that you've got income rolling in, on the other side. Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that.
Absolutely. Would you soak brown rice? I would not. Nope. Usually I would just dose a certain amount of water with that, and then it'll naturally soak as it cooks in. I found it. Hello, hit the bell. So you use soy peptone, or do you use soy peptone? I use bacteriological peptone, but there are people who want to use soy peptone. Like, there's a lot of vegans, vegetarians I know that don't like the bacteriological dairy or meat-based peptones. So they use soy peptones. So I just use bacteriological. That's what I've always started off with. That's what I used. So, and not all of them pretty much work. Yeah, it's basically just a preference thing. Is it common for pasteurized blocks to take longer to colonize than sterilized blocks, or is it just me? No, it's not common for it to take too much longer. It shouldn't be too noticeable. In fact, I guess I feel like my sterilized blocks take a little bit longer oftentimes than the pasteurized blocks do. So my guess is...
Yeah, but you're doing something different with the sterilized
Yeah,
one.
that's true. You're right. That's true. Those are more for tests, typically. Yeah, Preda, you shouldn't have too much of a difference. Maybe I'd be a little bit more patient and just see, but honestly, they should colonize pretty quickly. Late again, but at least I made it. That's right, John. Glad to have you. I wonder if I could make some money mushadermy. That'd be hilarious. There are people who do resin casting of mushrooms. I was just thinking, man, I need to download Discord on my new phone a second ago. Hey, man, what's up? What's up, Dustin? And yeah, get back on, buddy. This Samantha build. Oh, you already answered that one. What is snake venom in mushroom growing? I've heard it tossed around quite a bit. People primarily use it because the snake venom dissolves the cell walls, and what they're trying to do is dissolve the cell walls without destroying the genetic material inside, and it's a way to hybridize mushrooms most of the time. Basically, you want to dissolve the cell walls of two different species, put them in a plate, stress them out while they grow back together after you've rinsed the rattlesnake venom off, and then basically what you're hoping for is that as you put them under heat stress, typically, and they're healing from the snake venom, that they're picking up random bits of DNA from each other. so that you actually come up with a hybridized organism. S/O fungi florist. You're welcome, you're welcome, Joshua. I don't know what SO fungi florist means though. Any special bag cuts for side fruiting chestnut, kings, or black poplar? We just do that same U cut that we do with the oysters.
And
I prefer the side fruiting to top fruiting because usually people take the top of the bag off and try to top fruit the kings, but kings do better with a casing layer. So what I like to do is cut that, you rip the plastic up, put it back down, and now you have the plastic acting as a casing layer. Don't you do that, Samantha? I just looked over at her and she started yawning.
But yeah, this is I believe they called it a hinge cut, but we learned this from Midnight.
No, Desert Moon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we learned that from Desert Moon mushrooms. Was that kind of U cut? U cut. It's also known as a hinge cut. I call it a flappy flap. He found the like button. Thanks, Toby. If I want to inoculate a bag of grain spawn, would it be a good idea to put high temp silicone on the bag so you can inoculate with liquid culture and not have to worry about the contamination? If you have a flow hood, then I would just spray it in from the top. If you don't have a flow hood, then I would just go through the plastic, wipe it down with alcohol, go through the plastic, depress the syringe, and then take a piece of clear packing tape and then just put that over the hole. People don't realize a lot of times that that clear packing tape is sterile, or at least mostly sterile. That bioprospecting adventure video would be awesome. I agree. I'm thinking about doing a whole series. There was a whole series back in the day for these guys that did hunting marijuana strains for the land races before they became contaminated with the new modern genetics that was shipping out everywhere. And that show was awesome. The Strain Hunters. And I'm like, man, I should do a Strain Hunters TV show of me going to like festivals and collecting mushrooms. Oh gosh, look at that. The problem is it's so impromptu because like we're literally driving down the road to Samantha's grandmother's and she's like, oh, mushroom. And we stop right in the middle of it, right? And I guess I should be like, the whole time she was collecting that mushroom, I should have been out there like filming her and stuff, but I didn't. It would be good, but like we do that all the time. That's like I went for a bike. Charles was on a run. Samantha and Aislinn were biking, so I would decide to go biking with them. And I got like partway into the bike ride, and there was like this gigantic oyster mushroom on a tree on Jaybird Hill. So I was like, oh well, there's the Jaybird oyster, right? And I collected that in my little bike bioprospecting pack I have. And brought that back and cloned it at the shop. So the question is, how do I know when I'm going to find something? Or do I just pretend for TV's sake? And it's not really TV anymore, right? It's all online. But anyways, I agree. I actually want to make that just like my life. I want to make that my job. It's just that bioprospecting show. Most people who still use the Master's Mix forget where it originated. Yeah, that originated with T.R. Davis of Earth Angel Mushrooms. And, yeah, I mean, it was a good one. It's the 50-50 mix. I no longer use the Master's Mix. I use, I don't know what you would call it, the Oat and Gloat.
There for a little while we called it the goat mix because it was...
No, the goat mix was the straw and soy.
Oh, I thought it had oats in it, which is why.
Well,
I
I guess you could use the main thing for the straw was that it was like the straw goats, but so I guess you could use oat hulls or soy hulls for it. But we've also gone down like the Master's Mix was a 50-50 hardwood fuel pellets and soy hull pellets. If we're using soy hulls or oat hulls for our supplement, it's at 35%, and then 65% hardwood fuel pellets. So. It's one of the reasons we love y'all. Y'all humble, good people. Thank you, Atlas. I appreciate it. Working in a new lab and pretty new to it, I built a flow hood with speed control so I can ramp it up while just scrubbing the room air. Do you have any thoughts? I think that's a good idea, actually. My fans stay on 24/7 scrubbing air. One is actually the one that brings the fresh air into the laboratory space, and then the production lab is just 24-hour scrubbing that same air. So, I've learned everything I know between you guys, T.R. Davis, Eric Myers, and even the Canadian fellow who owns What the Fungus. Yeah, Brian Callow is the one that owns What the Fungus. So I'd say those are the guys that I started off with. Right when I started off with, it was me, T.R. Davis, Eric Myers, What the Fungus, and then later on, a little bit later came like Fresh from the Farm Fungi, and my gosh, so many now that there's a whole plethora of mushroom people.
Fox Farm and Forage, I think.
Fox Farm and Forage. Did they ever have a channel?
Oh no,
Okay.
sorry. I just meant
I started off with them in the commercial growers, I guess, but yeah. Eric, I've got mad respect for. Brian Callow's always been really good to me. So, would you sell cultures and tax for using soy peptone for vegan customers? If I understand what you're asking, Toby, I wouldn't charge anything extra. If someone had, in fact, what I would just say is just
put it in the notes.
Yeah, put it in the notes, but of your order. But if you buy a $30 syringe from me, just make another 500 milliliters of liquid culture using whatever peptone you want, and use a vegan source for that. If you want me to make a premix for you, then I'll just order soy peptone and keep that in stock, and then offer 2 different recipes if that's what people want.
Because we blend everything custom and we blend it fresh right before shipment. That way it doesn't sit around.
Exactly. I take all of my components that go into the premixes, the peptone, the carbon, the sugars, cellulose, etc. I put all that stuff in. What?
I just think we just got a 1-star review over the Mycelial Master Mix, and it's because it was a bit more wildly successful than we thought, so we ordered in more materials because we don't let everything just sit around. And that was that snowstorm that we had that was like 10 inches of snow.
The guy ordered, and because it didn't ship immediately.
Yeah, like the next day.
I got a 1-star review. And it's crazy. So I'll be at like 4.3, 4.4 stars on my Google page. One bad review takes it down to a 4.0. And then 5 people will give me 5-star reviews, and it only brings it up to a 4.2.
Yeah, it was nothing.
I'm so don't order from me and expect it to ship the next day.
But if you want that preference, we're happy to work with it. Just leave it in the notes, and then just give us some time to order it in. Andrew, he'll probably go buy it right after this and just have it on stock.
I plan to, just because anytime we mention anything on the live stream, it tends to...
It trickles down.
Hey, there you go, guys. Hey, even if you've learned something from us, if you've purchased from us before, if you like me, please go to our Google page and leave us a Google review. If you hate my guts, please don't.
What an ask. Oh.
Yeah. Undone. Brian Callow, you got it right, except there's a W on the end of his name. SO means shout out. Yeah, okay, my bad. Shout out to Fungi Florist. That guy is a master. And I cannot wait to see what he does with I was like, dude, I want to send you my genetics. All I want is the pictures back. And then let me use the pictures to be like, I just want to be able to be like, you see Fungi Florist? That's my strain. You should see how cool it looks.
Well, and what a compliment is that, to send your genetics to someone who can make it look just absolutely gorgeous. Like it would be. I've always loved pigments, and I've always loved like custom made, boutique like artist made paints, and then you can trade and sell, and it's based off of your geographic region and kind of the pigments that you gather from your location or whatnot. And so each one's different, and so it's just the showcasing by an artist in that way is just really cool.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
I'm gushing all over the place.
Charles Dennis, I'm not sure what you said, land race, and then you kind of have like, is that a frowny face? I'm not sure. Do you have a problem with land races?
I don't think that's a frowny face. I think it's like a face, like a, I don't know.
Like a what?
Like a squinty.
Like a mean face?
Flat. I can't do it.
Is it a kind face? I don't know what it is.
I think it's
I'm not hip with all these things.
Mediocre face?
Well, okay. Well, whatever then. Oh, he said stoned. Okay.
Okay.
No worries. I just didn't know. I was like, is there a problem with that word? Like, I actually looked up.
Entirely
By the
too much
way,
speculation.
I went and got that oyster mushroom, like I said, from Jaybird Hill, and then I was like, is Jaybird a racist thing? Am I the only town that's got like a
Andrew.
Jaybird Hill? But no, it means it's from prisoners, and remember that's where the old
Jaybirds.
Jaybird prison, whatever was,
Huh.
or not prison, the old jail.
Isn't history fascinating? And cruel.
Yeah.
And
Ow.
also wonderful in so many ways, but, you know.
I mean, everything is everything. Right? Let's see. Yeah, absolutely, Jake. I'm glad you guys were able to join us. When you pick a white mushroom, do you pull it out of the ground or do you cut it? Pick a whole mushroom. Do you pull it out? I just pluck. There, people will tell you cutting. People tell you plucking.
Well, the idea
The
of
one is
cutting
better
is
for the other. I will
leave
tell you
some
right
behind.
now that nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about,
Oh.
including myself. I pluck. Lots of people will tell you to cut. People act like they know. There has never been a study on which one is better.
Does anyone say to shave?
Shave? You're gonna shave the mushroom out of the ground? I pulled some reishi growing wild in our pasture. Would you like a sample? I have a bunch. They had a pink center when growing. Yeah, if it's
A
still
pink
alive.
center?
If it's still alive, I absolutely would. If it has a white edge on it, usually that white edge is where there's still living tissue. So if you're in a temperate region and it's like super cold, that reishi's probably down for the year, but it means it might come back next year. I heard right now from a few growers I know that I work with that are somebody. Oh crap! What was his name? From Saint Croix? Was that the island? Do you remember? Anyways, he was saying that in the islands down there in the Caribbean are.
St. Martinique?
No, it wasn't St. Martinique, but there probably are mushrooms popping there too. Florida's got reishi popping. The islands have got reishi popping. So probably like Texas and Louisiana probably have reishi going right now, like southern Louisiana. Like for us, the reishi season's over. Oyster season's what's up for us right now. The winter oysters. St. Martinique is where the Ganoderma martinique came from, that sample. But I'm talking about the guy I was talking to who said that. What are you looking at?
I hear something.
You hear something? It's probably the bird nest that's above us. We've got wrens that I allow to live in the rafters of the warehouse. In your video where you make lids, did you use the larger of the two sizes listed? Did it fit? Did you use the larger of the two sizes listed? Did it fit the 1364-bit videos? Syringe filters. The larger of the two sizes listed was not for the syringe filter. That was for the large one was for the self-healing injector ports. I like the mushroom bacon idea with cow or any mycelium or oat bars with mycelium. Wait. I like the mushroom bacon idea with cow or any mycelium or oat bars with mycelium. Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot of work going into that right now. Ecovative, I know, is doing a lot of they're just growing mycelium in mass in like a big thick loaf, and then it gets compressed and then cut into bacon strips. And then I don't know how they get it to taste good, because I think they're using oyster mycelium, and I will tell you that I grew oyster mycelium on beans, and then tried to do a so I cooked like pinto beans, and I grew oyster mycelium over it, and then cut it into like little bean steaks, and then tried to fry those tempeh. Like I was trying to copy Cindy Ober Singleton's morel tempeh, and I will tell you, it smelled like burnt hair. It smelled like burnt hair, and it tasted like burnt hair. It was awful.
I thought it smelled like peanut butter popcorn.
They before they were cooked, they definitely had a peanut butter popcorny kind of smell. But after cooked, like I couldn't. There was no way I could ever fry it with it. Like it's like it singed the chitin. All All right. Well, it's 10:16, so we're actually this will be my last question, and then we're gonna call it, guys. But have you ever had parboiled poisonous mushrooms? Just curious if it tastes. If you're talking about like Amanita muscaria, no, I haven't. That's the first answer. But if you're talking about like Amanita muscaria, I know they're mildly toxic. They'll make you sick. And yeah, I mean toxicity for mushrooms runs through a wide range of will make you kind of vomit. Some will just upset your stomach. Some will give you the poops, and some will murder your liver, and you'll have 2 days of the worst food poisoning you've ever had, followed by 1 day of feeling amazing, followed by a day of death. So.
And I'll only try something if Andrew guinea pigs first, because then I know it's.
That's why I have the better
semi-safe.
life insurance policy.
But as far as like parboiled poisonous anything, no, I will not.
Well, I mean, would you eat poke salad?
No.
See, I don't like poke salad, so I don't eat it. But
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's okay tasting, but yeah, I don't like.
There's so many other tasty things that I would rather
That's
have.
kind of where I'm at. Is poke salad is okay, but it's just okay, and it is an emetic. Like a little, like even like a little shaving off the root. When I was in herbalism school, one of the teachers had somebody from the south send him some root from poke root, and he took a little shaving. He's like, oh, it's like a little bit will be okay or whatever. And he took one tiny little shaving, and then he threw up for like 10 hours. I mean, not just.
Oh gosh,
He
it's
didn't
not
just
worth
it
it.
wasn't like a constant throwing
Horrible.
up. Well, the root, you don't ever eat the root in poke salad because the root is incredibly emetic. But
I'll take dandelion greens.
I use a leather punch to punch out the holes for the syringe filter in my lids. I use size 4 in the plastic lids and press in. It works great. I've heard that for sure. I definitely have. But all right, folks. Well, I'm getting tired. The sauna timer is about to go off, which means I'm going to go sit in some steam and get my sinuses cleared and my skin beautiful. So with that, I'm thankful that you guys joined us. Thank you guys for all the support that you give us. We couldn't do this without you guys, and we're very appreciative of every time we see an order come through and all the like notes of love that we get in the notes section. Really just gives us a big boost personally. So we really appreciate you guys and appreciate the love you send our way. Next week we'll be back. I don't know what the topic is just yet. And crap, I forgot to put this link on Patreon, so I'll go ahead and do that retroactively. Oopsie. Can't believe I forgot that. Anyways, y'all, thank you for being here. Keep spawning culture. And we're back. Just playing. No, I'm not. We're gone.